So question is, so if you talk at queer people, like they have like tons, endless of examples of how queer people have existed in culture. I think the problem is the white man made us and learn a lot of things that are very, very African, and we now conflate what is religion to what is African, because that religion isn't African at its core. So we need to investigate our roots. And thirdly is, so some people are, especially in some spaces, they're trying to manufacture like outrage, because in the expression, like I think you're talking about trans children across the US. Like people want them trans children to like express themselves, but then no parent under their mind will let a child undergo specific procedures before they are a specific age. So it's and so they tried it with like queer people. I think queer people covers trans people. So they tried with like people who I like using queer as like a general term. They try, like, they lost the battle on one front, so they're targeting like trans people, and then they're manufacturing this entire outrage around like people who are trans are again like are pedophiles. Like it's the same conflation they used on. So there's manufactured outrage, but then there's also concerns for parents. Like your parents want their children to express themselves as they are, but then they won't let them do the life altering procedures until they are at a specific at a specific age. And that's what, like, there's a consensus on that. Even parents of trans, they want, like, they let them wear dresses and whatnot, but then like when it comes to like blocking Nini, it's a thing.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting, and I don't think we can exhaust it in this discussion.
The point I wanted to make is like we need to have like open and honest conversations, not jaded. Like I shouldn't come to the table with preconceived notions on so we should even have like someone who's trans on the table, have a conversation with them and their experience and how they feel, and when they knew like, but they like, I do not want to express this, because so we need to have, rather than coming to tables with preconceived ideas of what's the experience of trans people, and that will move it forward. That will move forward, because like how like it's perfectly comfortable for a comedian to dress to make a joke, but then for performances it's now becoming so. It wasn't an issue until like the last few years. People are they're bigger horses that are bigger than us trying to drive the conversation, and we'll see it soon enough.
And do you think the reason that it has become a big issue until few years is because also the queer community, as you call it, feels like they're not recognized, or they should be recognized more than everyone else? They should have better experiences than everyone else. Or what do you think that actually made it pop up?
So in the conversations that's been happening, it's like, so people have been showing statistics that more people have been identifying as queer more recently, but that's a consequence of stigma. Like if you reduce stigma, more people will openly express them. So it's like left-handedness. Like before that, people are being, if you start using your left hand, people cane you to stop using your left. People the actual social sticks and you need to stop you from expressing who you are. And the more like social stigmas, the more social norms and attitudes change, the more people express themselves. So what's happening, it's like people are coming to a situation like queer people exist and exist in our lives, and they shouldn't hide themselves for who they are, because they've been hiding for years and years and running underground communities. So that's what's changing, and people chief at that. But then you'll know, again, I'm sort of driving this. So you'll notice some people talking about like queer people expressing themselves don't want to see someone who look like you and me in an advertisement, or like this one who was getting upset about a sweater company that has a black woman and a white. So the other underlying cultural norms that they don't.
And that's why for me, I brought this up, which is very important when you think about it, and we can talk about different things actually when it comes to this, and one of them would be queer, right? But there are so many other. There is anti-Semitic, there's black versus white. There is privileged versus less privileged.
No, there's somebody who put a board, like an entire board for a restaurant chain. It's all women. I'm like, what's the problem? Like,
you understand?
10
there's
boards.
Gender. So the problem that most people have, and I think even at least for Africans, one of the things that actually people have always had a problem with, me included, is that we are making one issue to be so big and then we ignore everything else, right? Totally. Like right now, people are saying, people, it should not be Jewish versus everyone else. It should be like everyone should have. They're right. Because everyone is human, right? Before you categorize, this Jewish, this Arab, totally this black, this white. The foundation is human, right?
I totally get that.
And do we now ignore all the problems and now focus on this one problem and assume that other problems never existed?
I totally get that.
And I'll give you an example with Africans, right? Africans have no problem with, your sexuality. As long as your sexuality does not interfere with mine, which is Ubuntu, right? We believe you, Amukasa, is Amukasa because I am Mike, right?
Yeah.
And Amukasa doesn't have to disappear or be discriminated or be put aside for me to exist, right? But now it's the same thing that you're talking about the religion. That what we call religion today is not African, right?
Essentially.
But even religion in African had its own concepts that are actually aligned with the Ubuntu.
Totally
so, and since you're in the education sector, I think those are some of the concepts that actually could change even the dynamics of sexuality. It could actually advise better. It could actually present a different concept about all the sexuality and whatnot. So that's the concept that I feel like we could address, because you see, I look at Africa as a place where most of the things have not been explored, if you think about it. And most of the things that you have explored, even in the 60 or 70 years that Africa has had, its independence, as they call it, our history has been erased. That's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, because if you look at it, I don't know how many times you have done interviews across the world, and I know you have done a couple of them. Maybe 3 minutes is what gets to be heard. Or 0 minutes. After hours of conversations, right? But for me, I'm saying any conversation we have here remains as history, remains as what we believe in what we also learn from each other. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, that actually Sophie Bot could advise the whole world how to educate people about this without leaning on this is it or this is it.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh yeah, that's fair. Because so the problem I hate about talking to people outside the continent about this problem is there's an over-insistence on playing up the wishy bits. Like, what's the statistic of teenage pregnancies in Kenya? Rather than just saying it's awkward and hard to talk about this in Kenya. Like in this continent, I can say about that, people actually get outside Africa. There's an insistence on playing up the you only started you started writing code at 19. There's an insistence to play up the wishy bits. Why? Rather than this is the problem, the solution. We are here as capable individual, not as a charity case too. That's
that's very important, because it reminds me something. That the reason why I do what I do is because I realized, maybe you don't know why I do what I do. Maybe I should tell you. I realized that Africa is the most smartest guys. But as you say, the education for us is presented as a way out of poverty. I know the enemy is the poverty, no doubt about that. But should we be poor? Do you know in the whole world, Africa is the most richest by all definitions, right? True. We all know, you and I, who have gone to school, that most of the other continents exist because of our resources, right? True. I'm not saying they're poor. I'm just saying, if we put all the ulabalu aside and state the facts.
How is Switzerland? Is it Switzerland the chocolate capital of the world? They don't have a single cocoa tree. They don't have a single cocoa tree. How are they the chocolate capital of the world?
If we have those conversations, we can say. And I'm not saying there's any. I don't have anything against anyone. I'm just saying, poverty is the enemy in Africa. But should we be poor? That's the question I'm trying to address. Because if we remove the poverty, then we're able to address so many other underlying things. Even sexuality education should be not an issue, because now we have the resources, because most of the molestation, most of the choices are made out of that a desperate situation where maybe a girl needs a pad. They have sex. And then they get HIV, which now their life is messed up, right? Or pregnancy, or, STIs, all these things. So as we think about all these scenarios that actually prop all these other problems that we need to solve,
totally.
I realize that we are the most smartest. And the best way to go about this is that how can we actually use that, like you are doing, and defying the, the process of spending your 16 years in college, in primary, and wherever, and say, well, I know how to build this. Let me go and build it, and then see how the world receives it, and I will make a decision based on that, which is so fascinating when you think about it. I don't know if you have ever heard about this, and that's how I like looking at it. And that does not make you better or bad than someone who has graduated. Maybe they have a reason. Maybe if someone becomes a lecturer, all and good, because they contribute something. So, but if we put all these aspects together, then we find the true power and the true meaning of being an African.
Sure.
Right? And this also brings us to why do Black Americans don't like coming back to Africa? Now, when we get to that, also maybe it's lack of education. Because the way Africa is painted out there, maybe it's not the right way. Maybe the education they get there is the wrong one. And now when you see all these, now you see solutions that actually you can build on top of Sophie Boat and grow it to be some go-to resource.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Absolutely. That absolutely makes sense. Because our introduction to Africa is the same as the white man. It's either Lion King, we're living, like you have a pet lion, or you don't have food. Like there's an entire meme, you don't have food or water. I'm like,
it's crazy.
Africa is as prone to inequalities as the same as where they live, and they need to like reform and learn that. And we can be an outlet for that. The good thing I like, because and then it goes across like the diaspora and people like that, is like we retained our sense of community.
Yes,
which
is so powerful, very powerful.
It doesn't make sense. Like you get into and don't say hi to like guys.
It's weird,
man.
It
doesn't make sense. Like you don't know who lives next door to you, even though you don't want to talk about. Like I think it's very foreign to people outside. Like when they come to this side of town, they're like, oh, there's a WhatsApp group for the institute.
What? And it's just normal.
It's normal. So I think that's the thing we can start from. Like there's a sense of community ingrained in all of us, and that can be a point of convergence, and we can build on top of that.
Absolutely. So Amukasa, that was a very good conversation that we have had, and thank you for honoring our invite. I know we have postponed this for a year, but now it has happened. This is amazing. I don't know what message you have for our listeners. Maybe encourage them to subscribe.
Check out.
Maybe check out our socials and our channels for support, and maybe parting shots.
So I was even worried. Like I was worried, like you don't want me to start the primary. I was like, history turns mbali sana. But then now it's good. I was like, tafikia Sophie Bots, but then we went through the journey and we covered it. Check out Sophie Bots. Say hi to Sophie Bot today on 23629. Go out there and have open and more like, aside from check out Sophie Bot, have open and honest conversations. The last plug is like I've been a fan of like Africa's Talking way before. So they like from before, like the value proposition was clear. Like rather than dealing with telcos directly and how fast you need to build a solution with them, it's faster to build with solutions like Africa's Talking. Like I never left the house to build a SMS solution. Like it was back and forth on email for a week, and solution was done. And I know that like we want that for every other solution that's built outside there. So aside from that, go out there and try new things and drive open and honest conversations on sexual health.
Nice. Thank you so much. So I made it a habit to conclude with a proverb, African proverb.
Awesome.
So I have one for you and for our listeners, which says, "There's no part of the meat that is not tasty. To see it and to look away is the important thing." I'll repeat. There's no part of the meat that is not tasty. To see it and to look away is the important thing. I'll leave that to your translation. Until next time, this is Michael Kimathi. Or if you want, MK, representing Impact Masters Podcasts in collaboration with Africa's Talking Retold Podcasts, coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. And our guests, Amukasa Iving, the CEO and founder of SophiBot. Check out SophiBot. SophiBot.
It's SophiBot on all platforms. At Miss SophiBot on all platforms. Text hi to 23629.
Very nice. And get sexually educated, as they said. Until next time, thank you so much.